Effects of state capture can still be felt today. This is why Chief Justice Raymond Zondo is pushing for the establishment of a body that would not only monitor corruption, but ensure that it is nipped in the bud. During his address at the Human Sciences Research Council's media colloquium earlier today, Zondo slammed Parliament, saying that it has failed the people. eNCA reporter Moloko Moloto was there following these developments. He joins me now live in studio just to wrap up the day for us, what happened. Moloko, welcome back. Thank you very much for coming in. Now, can you tell us more about what was Zondo saying about how Parliament has failed us?
Thank you, Braden Moyani. Well, today marks exactly a year since Chief Justice Zondo, who at the time was chairperson of this commission into allegations of state capture, handed the final volumes of the report to President Cyril Ramaphosa. So he today was really taking us back to how state capture unfolded. Firstly, he is saying that the former head of state, Jacob Zuma, was essentially at the Gupta family's beck and call. They were having enormous influence on him to an extent that the people that the president appointed and wanted to be appointed in key strategic positions, the Guptas wanted to make sure that they would be pliable so that they can serve their interest. And he outlined the situation as it unfolded at Transnet, even at Eskom, including at Dinel. Now he says that while all that was happening, the majority party, the African National Congress, refused on several occasions when there were calls for investigations into the Gupta's affairs. And he is saying Parliament at the time essentially did nothing. And he was saying if Parliament isn't protecting the people, there has to be, according to him, at least two things. Essentially, firstly, he is calling for the fast-tracking of the changes in the electoral system so that the members of Parliament, who even though they are representing their political parties in Parliament, they can still take decisions in the interest of the country, even when they are fired, possibly, by their parties. They can still find a way back because they would have been elected somehow by the people. But secondly, he's suggesting that there has to be what he calls a standing anti-state capture commission that will be similar to what he chaired. Essentially, he has no confidence in the institutions that are currently in place, including the National Prosecuting Authority, I suppose the police that he says were there in Parliament when state capture was taking place. Let's listen to Chief Justice Raymond Zondo.
Where a president no longer makes decisions that serve the interests of the people, but makes decisions that serve his own interests or his family or his friends, that undermines our democracy. What demonstrates beyond any doubt that state capture places our democracy at risk is when one deals with the role of the National Assembly. Section 42(3) of the Constitution provides that the National Assembly is elected to represent the people. So when the National Assembly fails to protect the people against state capture, it fails in this duty. When you represent someone in a forum, you are supposed to protect that person's interests. And if you fail to do that, you have failed in your duty. Apart from providing that the National Assembly is elected to represent the people and to ensure government by the people under the Constitution, Section 42(3) of the Constitution goes on to provide that the National Assembly does this, that is, to represent the people and to ensure government by the people under the Constitution by choosing the President, by providing a national forum for public consideration of issues taken democratically, and by making sure that it performs its oversight functions over the executive.
Now, I see, Moloko, that the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution, that's CASEC, civil society body, issuing a statement today and saying that the implementation of the recommendations of the state capture report should, in fact, be topping our national agenda.
No, that is true. And I mean, if you look at the fact that Chief Justice Zondo today is saying that should there be another group that may emerge and try to capture the state the same way the Guptas did, he says he doesn't believe that the current members of parliament would be able to stop it the same way they failed. Obviously, organizations such as CASEC and others from the civil society have always been pushing that the recommendations that are contained in there ought to be implemented. We have seen, for instance, one case that is related to the state capture. It went on trial in the Free State High Court. Those people walked away because the state did a shoddy job. And we have heard from the National Prosecuting Authority saying that they do not have enough capacity. They have been begging for money so that they can capacitate themselves, including the ID. And that much hasn't really happened. So there's after R1 billion north of R1 billion was spent, we haven't seen people really being held accountable, people wearing prison uniform. Maybe let's listen to Losa Naidu from CASEC.
Civil society has once again been at the forefront of continuously raising these issues, highlighting the recommendations that need to be implemented, and urging government to do the right thing. You know, this report of the Zondo Commission, which was 4 years in the making, was a damning indictment on the state of democracy in South Africa, how institutions had been weakened, how rampant looting was allowed to take place, and we seem to not deal with that with any sense of urgency. That there's a real need to fix institutions of governance and the way that we handle, in particular, law enforcement issues. But that urgency has been sadly lacking, and what we see on a daily basis are more and more revelations of corruption continuing to happen across various sectors within our society.
Yeah, I mean, the state capture report exposed a lot of that corruption at the time, but as Losa Naidu is saying there, as he concludes that there's still corruption going on. And that's a very difficult position to find ourselves in as a country. Now, what about government's reaction to all of what was said today?
Well, the Minister of Higher Education and Training, Dr. Blade Nzimande, was part of that colloquium. He also addressed the audience. And of course, he started by saying that the report of this particular commission is very much part of our history. In his words, unpalatable as it is. But obviously, he's also criticizing, saying that his criticism should not be misconstrued to be him rubbishing the commission. One of the things he says that he doesn't agree with the suggestion by the report that where the state faltered or failed to do its work, automatically that means the private sector would do it far much better than it, saying that both, if there's corruption, oftentimes they are involved. But having listened to the Chief Justice calling on South Africans to have their destiny, be in charge of their destiny, saying that they must hold accountable leaders who are in support or are tolerant of corruption, we then asked Minister Blade Nzimande to say, of course, the Chief Justice denies that his remarks are more of a call for regime change. And then we asked Minister Blade Nzimande to say, what did you make of this? Do you not believe that he's saying that because you, as the majority party in parliament, have failed, perhaps it's about time new people take over from you? Let's listen to Minister Nzimande.
No. He's saying the people must be responsible and take the future of this country in their hands. There's not a call for the ANC to go. The ANC, I believe, despite its challenges, it's still a party of the people.
Blatant Zimande, the Minister of Higher Education and Training, who attended that media colloquium with the Chief Justice to mark 1 year since he handed over his report to the government. And very little has been implemented in terms of the raft of recommendations that came out from that state capture report. Thank you very much to Moloko Moloto for that wrap-up this afternoon.